Hi, I'm Patrick Johnson. Welcome back to Behind the Screen, where I take you behind the DM screen in my campaign, The Five Kingdoms. Now, when last we left our heroes, they were running away from the city of Tours, which was in flames from the orcs attacking. And they'd gone up north and eventually, gotten tired and made camp and fell asleep. And like usual, they find themselves in other dreams and other places. And in this case, they find themselves with Prince Larkin for the second time during the campaign. Now, they're riding through another mountain pass on the way to the Gate of Worlds. Now that Larkin has the key, he wants to go open up the Gate of Worlds and go get the one crystal shard that is over in this other universe that he now has access to. What the characters don't know is that all along through each one of these adventures that they've been on, one of their friends was actually being taken over by Prince Larkin each night, and he would dream that he was one of their friends, depending on which group it was. And so all along, he's been listening in on their conversations. And early on, they started talking about their dreams and who they were in each dream, and and where they'd been and whatnot. And Larkin made up his own story that didn't lead back to him. But yeah, it was enough to fool the characters into trusting him so that they would talk in front of him. And he knows a lot about what's going on, not only around them, but in their heads. But the other thing that he knows that really freaked him out was he knows that they had inhabited Yulie, Lazara, and Sable at the beginning of all this when Larkin got the key. Now, he doesn't know if they've inhabited them at some other point, but he knows that at least at one time, one of the key moments when he got the key from the boy at the monastery, they were actually inhabiting three of his friends. And he's heard them talk about it many times, so he knows exactly what happened during that time frame, what part they know about. He suspects they might know about something else, but they haven't talked about anything else, so maybe that's just his own paranoia. But in any case, he's made this plan to strand Yulie, Sable, and Lazara in the other universe before bringing the crystal shard back. Ironically, the reason why it was just three people in Prince Larkin, Yulie, Lazara, and Sable, was because there was only three people in my player group at the beginning. The first session that I had, only three people showed up for it, and so those were the three people that were in that group. And the reason why it's ironic is because when we came to do this particular session, two of the people couldn't be there. And it just so happened to be the same two people that weren't there for the first session. And in fact, I think my wife also wasn't there, so it ended up just being two people. But we had a possibility of three. And it would have been Yulie, Lazara, and Sable. So it ended up being Yulie and Lazara, I think, for this session. Which kind of made it easier on me because I had figured out what Prince Larkin would do based on what he knew. But he also did not know that if Mary and Mary were here to play, they'd be playing two more of his friends. Or they'd be dreaming that they were two more of his friends, and they'd be in control of those two friends. And so when he went to strand his three friends that he suspected of spying on him, the other two people might have been there as well to help support Yulie, Lazara, and Sable. But because they didn't show up, that was not the case. So it made it a lot easier for Prince Larkin to strand them. So anyways, he makes this decision to do that, and he takes them to the gate. Now, it's called the Gate of Worlds. And the reason why it's called the Gate of Worlds is pretty obvious. It is a gate to other universes. Unsaid in that is it's not a gate to anywhere in this universe, just to other universes. So it has, while it's a very powerful artifact, it has some small limitations. So Larkin takes everyone through the gate. He brings along 10 soldiers of Bane, ostensibly to help carry the crystal, but he also wants them for backup when he decides to strand his friends there. And they go down into the sewer system that is in the other universe, and they follow along. It's a very big sewer system underneath the city, and they follow along through a bunch of bends and angles and whatnot that Larkin has already gotten mapped out from a spy that he sent down there earlier. And he goes through them rather quickly on purpose to make sure that his three friends, if he strands them there, will have a hard time following him back hopefully they won't remember all the turns, and they'll get lost wasting time and not be able to get to the gate before he gets a chance to get the crystal shard back through it and everybody else through it before they shut it down. So they go through this sewer system. They have a few encounters, and they end up in what seems like a modern castle to them, a futuristic castle to them, but it's actually a museum of a castle in this universe. And they don't encounter anybody in the museum at all. And after they go through a bunch of rooms, they find a chapel, and in the chapel there's this crystal shard. Now the characters are surprised by how big it is. It's big enough it takes 8 to 10 people to carry the thing, and they carry it out. But on their way out of the museum, Yuli and Lazara decide that, hey, there's this door over here that we haven't checked out. I'm bored. Let's go over there and we'll check this out and see if there's something new and interesting over there. And so they decide they go at this door. And Prince Larkin looks at everyone else that's still standing there after the two characters left. I think Sable went with him. And he, tells all his people, this is it. This is when we're going to do this. So obviously he's primed everybody with what his plan is ahead of time. And now it's time to implement it. So they all get ready, and they're waiting for Lazara and Yuli and Sable to come back through the door that they left in. But they've done this circular pattern. They end up coming in through a different door, leaving Larkin out of position. Prince Larkin's signal to his whole group was he was going to make the first attack, and as soon as he attacks, then everybody else goes. So he's completely out of position. So he kind of hurries back around without making too big of a show about it, and makes it back over to where Lazara is standing. And then he completely surprises Lazara by backhanding him across the face with the flat of his sword. Gets a great hit in, and everybody else starts attacking. And while they held their own as best they could, I think the players were really surprised by this. They didn't expect it. I didn't give them any hints that it was going to happen, as well I shouldn't have, because Prince Larkin wouldn't have. But he wasn't trying to kill him. He had instructed everyone just to beat them about the head a bit until they fall unconscious, and we'll leave them here to wake up later, which is what they did. So they beat the three of them up, and then they hightail it out of there. Now the characters don't know anything about what happened after that with the group that leaves them there. I do. I know that there's a guardian water naga that is set off by the fact that they're bringing the crystal shard through, and it attacks that party, Prince Larkin's party, and he loses a few members, such that some of his friends actually end up having to carry the crystal shard the rest of the way through the sewer. And they have a hard time getting it up the tunnel and whatnot out, but they finally do, because Yuli, Lazara, and Sable, once they wake up, they have no idea which way to go. They know how to get out of the museum. They get down in the sewers, and I had this out on a map for them, and I went through the map in progression as they were going here. But I did it just like I said Prince Larkin would do it. I did it fairly quickly, just one after the other, after the other. If someone had been writing down what it was really quickly, they certainly could have, but they'd had to been on the ball. And so I get them on the map again, and they're obviously lost. They don't know which way to turn. It becomes apparent right away. And they wander around. I give them a good 5 minutes to wander around in the sewer, see if they find their way, and they don't, which gives Prince Larkin and his group plenty of time to get out and close the gate. So after about 5 minutes, normally when the person who the main character that they're attached to when they're dreaming they're someone else, when that person goes to sleep, it slowly winks out for them like a TV shutting off, and their dream ends. Well, in this case, it's like a hatchet chopping the leg of a chicken off. It just smack, it's gone, and it leaves a big headache behind. Like racked with pain, because the connection is immediately shut off when the gated world is closed, and that's it. They just get this painful shut off, and now they don't know what's happened to those three characters in that maze. Okay, so what's important about all of this? Several things. The gate obviously is important. It's a gate to other worlds. Player characters will know where that's at now. They won't have the key, but if they had a mind to, they could probably figure something out with that. But other things that are important that the players have figured out from this, or should have figured out from this, is that that spell that lets them dream they're someone else will not work across the multiverses if the gate that got them there closes. That makes it so there's no connection and it shuts off immediately. So Prince Larkin stranding Yuli, Lazar, and Sable does, in his mind, and to some extent, solve his problem of having spies in his group. What he doesn't know is that Mary and Mary also have a connection to two characters in his group, Bella and the other one escapes me right now, that will become active, next time that they were meant to dream they were in Prince Larkin's group. If he doesn't figure that out, then there's still going to be spies in his side of things. And we'll see how that works out, because again, the characters are still, even though they realize that Prince Larkin is getting information from them, they haven't really shut down that spigot yet. So we'll see if they figure that out going forward. And it's also important that Prince Larkin has the crystal shard, the obsidian crystal shard. So he's one step closer to bringing his plan to fruition. Now he has to figure out a way to get the shard down into the basement of the Obsidian Castle, which is in the Crystal City, the biggest city in the Five Kingdoms. So quite a task he's got ahead of himself. But nonetheless, the Crystal Shard is now in the Five Kingdoms, which is, that's significant accomplishment. So they have that to worry about. Okay, so that's about it for this session. I got a couple interesting sessions coming up. Next time, they're going to the Beholder's Lair. And then the following session after that, they're going to go to the Necromancer's Lair. Both of those are possible TPK situations if the party is not very, very careful. So we'll see how that goes. And then it should get even more interesting from there on out, because they're going to start piecing together these pieces of information and start to formulate their own plan based on what they want to do. Do they want to help Larkin along and change this world so there is more magic and more technology? Or do they want to try and prevent it from happening? What's their angle? Which way are they going to go? Anyways, that's it for Behind the Screen. Hope you stay safe and healthy out there, and we'll see you next time.